Thank you so much for tuning into my show today. I am grateful for the time that you are spending with me. Today's episode is going to be a bunch of memes that are going to show the idiocy of what is going on in our society today as it relates to politics. And it's going to leave us scratching our heads on why didn't I notice that? Or I know that, but it just points out a bunch of things. And no, I cannot bring up all the memes that shows everything that's going on. I can only bring up a good couple handfuls of them today. Not that I can't bring up more, but we don't have the time to show all the memes that are out there that just shows the things that just don't make sense in society today. And some of them are going to be throwing some stones, possibly. Some of them are going to be just pointing it all out. Today's episode of my show is brought to you by Patriot Mobile. Please switch your cell phone service to a company that loves America as much as you and I do, a company that puts America first, our Constitution, that believes in First Amendment rights, Second Amendment rights, first responders, military. Look, they are everything that makes America great. Switch your service to Patriot Mobile by going to patriotmobile.com/WWFA. I'm going to jump on these memes right away and show them to you and get them going. I got to kind of change the setup. Okay, the first meme, I brought this up kind of intentionally, or some of them I bring up, I'll say intentionally, but I'm going to kind of flip it a little bit because sometimes I read the memes and it's not the actual meme and what it's saying that I want to talk about. But, well, you'll see where I'm going with this. The first meme up is kind of a cartoon caricature drawing in purple. It says, I don't argue with any, it's a guy, he's got a USA hat on. So I guess he's supposed to be a conservative and he's got his hand in his head. It says, I don't argue with anyone on the left anymore. The level of willful ignorance and delusion is just exhausting. So let me pivot just a little bit on this because it really is far leftist that you definitely don't want to argue with because they will never agree with you. But I think that this points to another group of people. And there's just a lot of people, I call them those one issue voters that are voting Democrat for one reason. And they know the truth about the other things that are going on, but they will use, well, in this case, their willful ignorance to ignore all the other facts that kind of prove their side wrong, but because they are so brainwashed with those one or two issues, they stick on that side completely. And it is exhausting. That's one reason I don't argue with these people. I don't there's multiple reasons why I don't argue with anybody who is left of center or just simply disagrees with me. One, it's stupid to argue with people who are set in their ways. Not because they are wrong. Yeah, I could say they're wrong, but because maybe they have other facts. So I love listening to them to hear other things because, like I always tell you, it's that listening process that makes you or shows people that conservatives are compassionate, but even bigger yet, you might learn something. You might come up with something else. So you don't argue with them for multiple reasons, but there are those out there, which this meme refers to, that you definitely don't want to argue with some people because they will beat you up with every lie, every narrative, everything that does not make sense until you just stick your hand in your head or your head in your hand rather, and ain't nothing you can do about it. All right, my next meme up here is a caricature of who looks like Groucho Marx, and I'm gonna maneuver this a little bit too, but it says, politics is the art of looking for trouble, finding it everywhere, diagnosing it incorrectly, and applying the wrong remedies. I get a little tired sometimes of hearing everybody goes, well, it's just politics. Do you ever get sick and tired of people who they justify things that are going wrong by just saying, well, that's just politics. That's just how it is. It's just politics. It makes my head want to explode because it's a passive, dismissive way of saying that it's wrong, it doesn't make sense, that's not the way something should be done, but I'm not going to try to change it. I'm not going to try to do anything about it because it's just politics. It becomes a very complacent way to let things just get worse. But I'm going to change it a little bit. When it says politics is the art of looking for trouble, finding it everywhere, it's what politicians do. They look for problems, they look for trouble because that's what makes them relevant to fix it and or diagnose it. They say diagnose it incorrectly. I say they diagnose it incorrectly and then they screw it up worse. That's what's going on in our country. It's why our government keeps getting bigger. It's why our bureaucratic agencies keep getting bigger and more powerful because politicians always come diagnose things incorrectly. They diagnose it with either ideologies, narratives, or to fix their core set or to, how should I say, double down or empower their core sets of beliefs to create an agency to fix a problem that they've created that is not going to really fix the problem, but you get the idea. That's what I got out of that meme. I know I dug deep into it because, like I said, we get more out of these if we really go into them. All right, here's my other one. It's a pretty background, colorful. It says it's got a guy with a gray spiky hair. It's a character, right? It says, out of 195 nations on earth, why is it only America that is allowed or disallowed? I'm sorry. Out of 195 nations on earth, why is it only America that is disallowed to enforce immigration laws? It's not that we're disallowed. It's that we're made, is that the politicians who don't want to enforce our immigration laws makes everyone feel guilty who feels like they should be enforced because, of course, we all know that there is a party that wants as much illegal immigration as possible to dilute the love of our country because a lot of these immigrants aren't really caring about our country. They're just coming here for the free stuff, right? Or they're coming here, they're being brought here. And as we know, what's going on with the Somalis in Minnesota, and they get indoctrinated into a system of corruption. And the Democrats are just using them for votes. They're using to change the population of our country to keep themselves in power. And they create the narratives to make you feel guilty if you support enforcing the immigration laws. So other countries, I'd be curious of what other countries think about us enforcing or trying to enforce or not enforcing, because I'm going to tell you, other countries have learned how to get around the loopholes of our immigration or how to get through the loopholes that circumvent our immigration laws. We know that they have agencies here that bring people here to have babies and or get married to be able to get their citizenship as a way to do the workarounds. So they might not really think badly of us for trying to enforce our immigration laws. They just found ways around them. But inside, it's disgusting that inside our own country, we have politicians that don't want to enforce them to empower themselves and be able to fatten their wallets. And I sometimes I get off on these memes and I want to just keep on rolling with it, right? I could do a whole show on some of these memes. But here's the next one. It says, hey, Republicans, we don't want hearings or investigations. We want indictments, convictions, and incarcerations. And the reason I'm bringing that up is obviously we have the Epstein report right now. And we've got so many other stories of, look, we can look at politicians that are getting rich off the stock market. We know they're doing the inside trading stuff that they're not supposed to be doing while they're in office, but they keep getting away with it. And it's happening on both sides. We see it. You can't just say it's Democrats. I mean, look, Republicans are always the ones that point it out, but they're always the ones that not do anything about it, which is why I brought up this particular meme, because, and I'll make it bigger once again and make myself a little small. Look, you'll see me down there below the Patriot Mobile sign. Either way, hey, Republicans, we don't want hearings or investigations. We want indictments, convictions, and incarcerations, because we know what they're doing. And as I've always said, the Democrats are, I know I'm a blanket statement. We all know a lot of the, not crime, we have crime, fraud, a lot of the things that the Democrats are responsible for. Election fraud. You can just name your fraud, name your thing that we know that we can pin on many Democrats. But what we can pin on the Republicans is that oftentimes they don't want to fix the problems, or in this case, have indictments, because they raise more money on that they're going to fix the problem, and that they're not like the other side. Either way, it's not a blanket. It is a blanket statement, but I don't mean that for everybody. But I am a little aggravated because we know the fraud and nobody's doing anything about it. My next meme is by Martha Gellhorn, and I'm going to tell you what her little quote is. A little picture. It's not a caricature, but it's I guess somebody drew this of her. But her quote is, "People often say with pride, I'm not interested in politics. They might as well say, I'm not interested in my standard of living, my health, my job, my rights, my freedoms, my future, or any future. If we mean to keep any control over our world and lives, we must be interested in politics." It's like I always say, one of the biggest reasons that politicians get away with what they get away with, bureaucracy gets bigger, government gets bigger, government gets away with what it gets away with, is because the people have taken a step back. They're in the back seat. They're not even in the back seat anymore. They're not even in the bus anymore. American citizens don't even vote like they used to vote. When we get 10% turnouts or less for local elections that involve tax increases, don't blame the politicians. Blame yourselves for not voting. And that's part of the problem. A lot of people say, well, no matter how I vote, it doesn't matter. They're going to do what they're going to do. Well, if more people were paying attention, they would know that by the turnout in elections. You hear me say all the time. Either way, Martha Gellhorn, just so you know, I'm gonna pull up what I did a little research on her. Martha Gellhorn was an American novelist, travel writer, and journalist who is considered one of the great war correspondents of the 20th century. She reported on virtually every major world conflict that took place during her 60-year career. She's a badass. All right. She's got a lot of it. She has seen a lot of things up close and personal. So that it makes that quote that she just now said even more important. She was the third wife of American novelist Ernest Hemingway from 1940 to 1945. She died 1998 by apparent suicide at the age of 89, ill and almost completely blind. As I always tell you, whenever I find some of these quotes and I go, I don't know who that is. Again, I'm going to repeat this one again for the people in the back, because I think it's so important to remember it. People often say with pride, I'm not interested in politics. They might as well say, I'm not interested in my standard of living, my health, my job, my rights, my freedoms, my future, or any future. If we mean to keep any control over our world and lives, we must be interested in politics. I thought that was really important. And the next meme up, we're going to make this a little bit bigger here. It says California faces should be the meme has it wrong. California faces an $18 billion deficit our budget deficit in 2026. The state has identified 70 billion in fraud so far. Their solution, a wealth tax to steal more money from people who create jobs so they don't go bankrupt. This is government at its finest. That, my friends, is like the thing you heard about the Super Bowl quarterback this past weekend, who actually got taxed more than he actually won or made as his bonus in the Super Bowl. My friends, like these memes, I'm gonna pause for a second from the next meme. It's they just basically, when you look at these and you read them, you just have to scratch your head and go, we know that. That's common sense. The problem is we just go through life and we don't get involved and we don't fix it. But it just shows the idiocy. We're aware of it, but yet we pick sides, which makes it even worse. We're aware of California's taxing the daylights out of the wealthy people and they're leaving. And the Democrat policies are hurting California horribly, like tax the rich, a Democrat policy. Yet people on the left still get galvanized by voting for more Democrats because of either one issue, or they go, well, Donald Trump's horrible, so I'm staying a Democrat. Or they'll say, we need to tax the rich because the rich are causing all the problems. They look at all of these issues with willful ignorance. They look at all of the problems with cognitive dissonance, and they just ignore the results of the policies that they support. And as a result, we get politicians getting away with, in this case, a wealth tax. On to the next meme. It says, I'm bringing the screen around partly now because you can see me every so often. So, go, where's William? Where's William? So go, where's Waldo? We go, where's William? Oh, wait, William's down there. But look, he's down there behind the Patriot Mobile sign. Promo code WWFA for a free month. But also because when I make my little picture smaller, I get the meme becomes bigger so I can read it on the screen, so you don't see me leaning in the screen, squinting my eyes, going, what's that saying? I make it just a little bit bigger. Anyway, it says it's been 1 year since Gavin Newsom implemented a mandatory $20 per hour minimum wage for fast food workers. Since then, more than 18,000 fast food jobs have been eliminated. See, this is the type of stuff that you don't hear in the mainstream media, because the mainstream media supports the Democrat narratives. The mainstream media toes the line for the Democratic Party. So they are not going to report the results like this of their bad policies, because they don't want you to know that, everybody goes, oh, we want $20 an hour. We want that living wage. So the Democrats will circumvent the natural laws, the good effects of capitalism and the free market system, or the natural laws that occur during raw capitalism or the free market system. And they ignore the bad results when you go against the grain, when you fight these natural laws of capitalism. You fight, when Democrats do policies to ingratiate themselves and make themselves look great to their voters to stay in office, the media is not going to report the negative effects like this. So and I researched this, and yes, that is 100% accurate. My friends, I always talk about RNC Store. If you have heard about the power of apricot seeds, B17, and Laetrile, I'm asking you, please go to rncstore.com. Use that promo code WWFA to get a discount. And on to the next meme. You also notice I got a banner scrolling at the bottom for the people watching the video. But for my friends that listen to the podcast, sometimes I just got to tell you so you can hear it. The next meme up is just a gray box with white lettering, and it says California Democrats. I've switched it around here. California Democrats just rammed AB 1421 through. Next up, tracking every mile you drive and taxing 6 to 9%. I'm sorry, 6 to 9 cents per mile. That's $1,000 to $4,000 more each year for the average family. So I looked up the AB 1421. It extends California's road usage charge pilot program and advisory committee operations until January 1st, 2035. The bill focuses on extending and enhancing the state's road usage charge. The bill amends 3093 of the code. So basically, what they're going to do is they are going to implement this 6 to 9 cent per mile tax. Here's the problem, folks. A lot of people go, well, actually, by the way, I'm going to just summarize the article because I read it earlier. What's happening is, since California is implementing all of these uh, electric vehicle type laws where they're trying to phase out gasoline and make it more, you know, make you want to choose because they're hitting your wallet, use electric cars. But the problem is, because they're selling less gasoline, they need to get the money from somewhere. So now they just get out of thin blue air and say, okay, we're charging 6 to 9 cents per mile. Now you might go, well, how do they know that? This is the problem, folks, because while they will do either self-reporting or estimation, the problem is, at some point, government needs to put teeth into this. So, like Democrats do, like totalitarian people do, like socialists do, communists do, they put teeth into these things, and they'll eventually they'll come up and say, well, you got to put this tracking device on your car because we got to track. Now, this is I'm kind of making up, but it is perfectly believable because we've seen stuff in the past where, when the enforcement is needed or the tracking is needed, government will find a way to enforce this legislation. You can look it up yourself. It's AB, like I said, AB 1421. There's a whole article on the details and the groundwork that they're laying to be able to go down the road where you won't even have privacy with your drive anymore. And, well, you see, you might save money with your Tesla, but you're going to pay for it on the California tax and your freedom, by the way, when they start tracking you. And the next meme up here, it's a woman in sunglasses. Obviously, she's in a car. It is from I found it on X. It's from Sarah L. It says, if the government can by the way, on my videos, you can see either who's saying some of these, and I'll say it sometime like I did here, Sarah L. I want to give credit when a meme has some, it has somebody that wrote it. I can see that. But I also sometimes I just get these memes and there's no name to it. There's no quote. So I can't give somebody credit for it. But I didn't do these memes. Somebody else did these memes. And you probably see them on social media like I do, which is where I get them. Either way, the woman in the glasses, it's just a face behind the wording. It says, if the government can have $18 billion scammed from it without anyone noticing, then we, the people, are paying way too much in taxes. And that, my friends, is exactly right. When you're looking at the scams that government is being scammed out of, or the money that government is being scammed out of, and you see and you hear the billions and billions and billions of dollars that's happening, where's it coming from? Well, it's coming from our tax dollars, but that's just a small percentage of where it's coming from. It's coming out of all the money they're creating out of the thin blue air, or I'm sorry, the thin blue sky. It's they're pulling this they are creating this money with our national debt. I know I said that wrong, so I'm gonna back up a little bit. I get a little feisty sometimes. I get a little heated and get ahead of myself. So I have to correct myself sometimes when I catch it, which I'm doing now. These politicians, and it's on both sides. I mean, it's mostly Democrats that are spending our dollars and the fraud that comes out of it. Look, I'm not giving the Republicans a pass. I mean, look, we don't see any indictments, like I said earlier. I mean, if they both sides truly cared, we'd have less crime on one side and we'd have more indictments on the other side. Either way, government is printing money. Our national debt is what's paying for all this fraud. All they're doing is basically creating money out of the air, and they're creating numbers and adding it to our national debt and transferring those numbers to other people's bank accounts. And we, the people, are on the hook with it with our national debt. If there's this much fraud, not only are our taxes too high, our national debt's too high, but it's time for people to be held legally accountable for the mismanagement of the funds of the United States. And my next meme, I know some people are probably gonna, I can already hear the backlash on this one. Why the United States left the WHO, and a lot of people, well, that was a mistake. We should be in WHO. WHO, is doing all these great things worldwide. Actually, if you look it up, you can find all the bad things and the wrong things that WHO does, and you can see for yourself why be a part of an organization. And I'm gonna back up a little bit. Foreign countries, a lot of my friends on the left say foreign countries have so much better health care. You can just look at how better their health is in all these other countries. So that would be an argument why many people I have heard of say we should be in WHO. Other countries do their healthcare better. They have socialized medicine. It's so much better. Well, actually, and I'm not going to go off on this tangent for too long, just for quite a second here to make the point, which I'm about to read on the meme, which has a picture of RFK on it and a picture of the Capitol in the background and the bullet points, which I'll read in a second. The reason why other countries have so much better health, um, have better health statistics, we'll say, is they have a better food supply. They don't put all the chemicals in their food that we put in America. They don't put all the preservatives that we put into America. They have healthier lifestyles. Yeah, their countries, their populations, and their governments promote healthier lifestyles. That's the reason they have better health care systems or better health results in those countries, is because they have better food health. They have a better quality of life because they exercise more. Either way, America, we don't have that. We have tons of preservatives and nasty stuff in our food supply. Part of the reason why we're so unhealthy. But the reason to get out of the WHO is for multiple other reasons. Because one, they mishandled COVID. Two, by the way, the WHO, the World Health Organization, there's a treaty going around that if America signs it, the WHO will be allowed to regulate our gun rights, which is yet another reason why there's certain agreements floating around that the United States has not signed. Either way, another reason to get out of the WHO, they politicized science. There's no accountability. They don't show us anything in the United States. The US pays the most or has paid the most, but gets the least out of the organization. We don't want global control over our national health. Our national health, by the way, is already screwed up enough as it is. Why would we want foreign countries controlling our health system? Public health should serve people, not an organization in another country. And we don't want the bureaucrats from other countries in our healthcare system. And on to the next slide. It's a picture. It's a Saturday Night Live picture of Jim Farley. Was it Jim Farley doing the motivational thing where he's screaming at Pam Bondi, and our FBI director, Kash Patel, and he says, "For the love of God, arrest someone." It's what I've been saying several times throughout this whole show, of course, because of all the things that are going on. The next one is from Dina O'Boyle. She's a contributor on, I get this on social media. It says, America is not trillions of dollars in debt. It is trillions of dollars in fraud. How right that is, because if you when you start adding up all the things they found in Doge, you start adding up all of the things that they found we just know Somalia. I'm sorry, in Minnesota with the Somalians. Look at all of the fraud, the millions and millions of dollars in fraud. America doesn't have a debt problem. We have a spending and a fraud problem. And that is why America is trillions of dollars in fraud. The next one is, I gotta make this one smaller. It is Democrats. Um, I'm sorry. The Democrats demand ID for everything, going to the bank, airport, doctor. I know this is a public service reminder. You've probably heard this meme before, seen it. Again, it says the Democrats, they want identification for going to the bank, going to the airport, doctor. Of course, we could take the Patriot Act also from the airport thing, pharmacy, schools, gun store, fishing, a hunting license. You have to have your ID, daycare, hospital, drinking, or to drink alcohol, that is. But for voting, no ID. I know this one gets repeated ad nauseum, all these different little facts. The problem is not ad nauseum enough, because we've got the SAVE Act that looks like it may get passed, but the Democrats have been fighting it for a long time now, because they want to say that ID for everything else is okay, but for voting, it's racist. And the black people aren't able to get IDs to vote. And that, my friends, shows that the Democratic Party are the ones that are racist. And my friends, I'll go on with the next meme. Pam Bondi. I got some. You're gonna like this one. Um, this meme is just a picture from. You can look at it from Ann Tunes. It's off of social media. It's a picture of Ann Bondi with her hands up. It says Pam Bondi loses her mind when asked why she is not indicted any of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The NASDAQ smashing records. That's what we should be talking about. It's her quote. It's the quote by Pam Bondi. Now, let me tell you something. I looked this up, and she did indeed say that. My friends, as I always tell you, I completely agree in the conservative movement. I stand behind it. And I believe that right now we have all three branches of government. The conservative movement has the best opportunity to get a lot of things put in place that I believe are really great for America. But I am not going to blindly just support all of these things and not point out the bad things, because I believe that when you point out some of the other things, we can do better. And what I don't agree with is I think there should be indictments, but what I don't agree with is the pivot here, because the money, and I'm about to make another point here. So you think I might be sticking on this? I'm gonna move here in just a minute, and make another point, which I heard on a show a long time ago, and ever since I've heard this information on the show a long time ago, it just opens up my mind. It's by Catherine Austin Fitz made a comment. I'll tell you about that in a second. To divert from why there's no indictments on any of the people that look, we see it redacted, but they don't. They know the names on the Epstein files. They know them. They know who they are. It's just us that doesn't know it, because we're the plebes, right? So for her to distract in that moment by saying the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ is way more important than children being raped, sex trafficked, all the horrible things that we're seeing in the Epstein files. And right now, the money is greater. So here's the point that the piece of information was I gave you. I listen to Catherine Austin Fitts from time to time. She made a point. She talked about why there's so much fraud, and I'm summarizing what she said. We know there's so much fraud in the bureaucratic system. There's so much fraud in government. We know there's just trillions and trillions of dollars being printed and they go missing. We know from all the things that we see that there's illegal activity everywhere, and nobody ever goes after anybody. Some people get made examples out of, but the reason they don't do it is for the NASDAQ, for the stock market, because all of this money that's been printed and the fraud and the people that are doing the fraudulent activity, or in the case of the Epstein list, these are all people in charge of our country, whether it's big business or politics. So the people in DC, they know if they go after all of them and they really clean it up, the stock market crashes, the NASDAQ crashes. So does everybody's portfolio. So does everybody's retirement. And if they crash the system, not only will they not only that party never get reelected again, but and not will those politicians get kicked out of DC, but everybody loses just trillions and trillions of dollars. And if that happened, the public might demand an autocorrect, a reset, where the people actually get their freedoms back, where the people actually become more important than the stock market, where little children become more important than somebody's retirement portfolio. And the next meme is by Kentucky Girl. It says, in Minnesota, it looks like they might all be in on it. The governor, the mayor, the representatives, the senators, the judges, the prosecutors, the NGOs, they're all benefiting from the fraud. Are they willfully ignorant, actively corrupt, or totally incompetent? We know the answer, my friends. And again, it is, like I said, it is so obvious what's going on in this country, yet we still use our cognitive dissonance, willful ignorance to look the other way because we're busy. We don't want to be involved in politics because it's just ugly. It's politics. And as a result, we are paying the price. But we can stop this. And the best way to stop it is to get everybody out to vote, get everybody registered to vote, knock on doors, get people involved, tell them to go vote. I don't care what party you are. I don't care. I don't even care how you vote. I will support your right to vote and how you want to vote. I don't care. That's why I don't argue with people. It's one of the reasons that, like I said earlier, I don't argue with people about what they believe in, because I think that the more information we've got on both sides, the more eyes get opened, the more people get involved. And as a result, the people win on this. All right. The next meme, and by the way, guys, this is another Patriot Mobile meme. I get it. PatriotMobile.com/WWFA. I'm not going to go into it at all very long. Please switch your service to them. The next meme up is it is actually from The Matrix. It's a picture of the woman, the guy, I forget his name. They're all wearing their glasses, and the black guy with a bald head. The name's gonna come to me in just a minute. Either way, and it says the meme says at the bottom, they don't teach you your rights in school because it's easier to take them away if you don't even know what they are. It goes back to why they're not teaching civics as much in school anymore. They don't want you to know how your government basically works. They want you to think that it works the way that we see it working, where bureaucracy kicks in and they print some money and they basically funnel the money around, shift it around. They do some illegal stuff. They don't really tell you about it till later. And then when it's later, it's old news. Everybody knows about it. Nobody goes to jail. And you forget your rights because they got taken away so long ago, and they're doing it generationally. You see, they started doing it a couple of generations ago, not telling you what your rights were, but telling you what your rights should be. Using the whole equality and equity thing, and not that we shouldn't have equality, we just should not have equity. They, that you should have a right to change your gender. They teach you that your rights are more ideological to fit the narratives that can be controlled by the people in power, by the politicians, and through the media promoting it, instead of teaching you your God-given rights, your constitutional rights, which are more important, which make everybody more equal and completely equal. Because you see, the constitutional rights are God-given rights that are in our Constitution by our founding fathers, who recognize they were our God-given rights. Those are rights that make everybody equal. You see, if you're transgender or you're DEI or you're whatever those rights are, and you're promoting those, not everybody agrees with them. So everybody goes off on their own individual rights. Also, rights, AKA little cages that the government, the politicians, and the media and the narratives force you into, because you're much easier to be controlled with those rights in little cages than by your constitutional rights that they don't teach you in school anymore. And that, my friends, is why they do that. On to the next meme. I gotta make it a little bit bigger here, but actually, am I? Yeah, I'll do this. A government big enough to give you everything you want is big enough to take away everything you own. And that, my friends, is by Thomas Jefferson. Americans have been learning this lesson in slow motion for decades. A government big enough to give you everything you want, these bureaucratic agencies, this government giveaway programs, is big enough to take away everything you own if you don't abide by their little rules and laws. The next meme up, when the Pentagon fails its 8th audit in a row, unable to account for 4.65 trillion in assets, that government will audit you if you don't report a $600 in one transaction in your Venmo income, or $500 in your bank account, or whatever. Yes, my friends, I looked that up, and that is accurate, that the Pentagon has failed. Again, I fact check a lot of these memes. The government has failed its financial audit for the 8th consecutive year, highlighting ongoing challenges in financial accountability and management within the Department of Defense. So, are we now watching the money that's going through the Pentagon getting lost in certain NGOs? Who knows, my friends? That stuff was the stuff that was coming out in Doge, but the Democrats didn't like Doge because it was racist and horrible and bigoted and that's horrible. We need those programs. That's how we help people help themselves, help their donors, but the American people, if we practice true capitalism, a free market system, got rid of government, got rid of regulations, got rid of half these bureaucratic agencies, my friends, we would have a lot more financial prosperity. My next meme rather, it's a picture of looks like the State of the Union in the House of Representatives chamber, and it says, the more we blame Republicans or Democrats, the less we remember they're both to blame. That one speaks for itself. I'm not going to explain that one anymore. My pillow meme, my friends, remember, when you buy from My Pillow, you support my show. When you use my promo code WWFA, please check them out for some really big discounts. And the next meme, I I'm way more than 3/4 away, guys. Um, so the NFL broadcast license is in jeopardy after the controversial Bad Bunny halftime show. I don't know if the NFL broadcast license is in jeopardy or how that's going to work. Will probably never, just like the Epstein files, just like the elected officials that are getting rich off the stock trades. The NFL is big too. We probably won't see any at all whatsoever problems there on it. I made it small again because it's got Bad Bunny stay on the truck. So here's the story. Bad Bunny, if you have not read the translation of what he was saying in Spanish, the English version of the things that he was singing are horrible. You should read, if you look it up, what he was actually saying in Spanish, of course, the English translation. So why, if we live in a country that we're now got to press one for English, and we've got to, and they're teaching Spanish in schools, and we're forced to educate the Spanish children coming over here, which I understand. But I'm saying is our country is being so immersed with Spanish, the Spanish language. Yet if you say something on the radio, a bad word or something you shouldn't be saying, you get fined, the station gets fined, you lose your license. Why should it be any different if they're saying the same bad stuff in Spanish? So I've seen some different articles and things that are circulating out there that are talking about that point exactly. If you said it in Spanish, it's still bad. And, well, you got my point. I'm not going to repeat it. All right, my next meme up is a black and white, black background, white lettering. It says, and I'll read why I struck by my chord here. Classical liberalism says, I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. Classical liberalism, my friends, is actually today's conservatism. That's something where the term changed. It used to be classical liberalism, used to be conservatism. That was the classical liberalism quote. The progressivism quote says, I disapprove of what you say, and I will publicly shame you, lobby to have you censored, and demand you be fired from your job. We hear this all the time. Progressivism doesn't want everybody to be equal. They just don't want anybody they disagree with to have any form of equality in our country, in our communities, in our workplace. So if you don't believe what they want you to believe, they will seek to destroy you any way they can, because it is not about equality. It's about equity, for one, but it's not about equality. It is about their superiority so they can control every direction our country goes in the future. The next meme up, it says, you can tell which side is a good side and which side is a bad side by which side wishes to restrict freedom of speech. That's a quote by Elon Musk, put out by Young Americans for Liberty, and it's the truth. Just like I just now said, they don't want to take away your First Amendment right with a law. They just control it by making you feel guilty for saying things, and all through all the narratives, and they will make you feel shamed for believing certain ways and saying out loud, which they remove your First Amendment right, not only through the shame, but also through the guilt. Because once you feel guilty for saying something, they made you feel guilty for saying what you believe, you suddenly stop saying it. So they've, in essence, taken away your First Amendment right simply by making you feel guilty for saying these certain things. The next meme up is I think this is going to be interesting here. I'm gonna dive into this a little bit. It's by Snowden, a picture of Snowden, an actual picture of Edward Snowden, and it says, "When a crooked politician calls me traitor, ask yourself, who did I betray?" Obviously, it's not a quote, it's not in quotations, but The courts have ruled repeatedly that the programs I revealed were unlawful and likely unconstitutional, a violation of your rights. If this is treason, that what they call loyalty is a crime. So basically, Snowden's saying he uncovered a lot of corruption and uncovered a lot of things that were unconstitutional. Granted, I'm not defending Snowden necessarily here, because from what I understand and remember, he did violate certain rules in his workplace. So he probably should not have done it the way that he did it, but he did it. And as a result, he's taken the fall. He's fallen the sword for this. And but we're more aware of how much more crime. Like I said, my friends, in this episode, I brought all of these memes out to kind of show us we're seeing all of this. We're seeing the crime, we're seeing the corruption in our country, we're seeing what's going on, and yet we continually look the other way and we find our comfort cozy places to be just calling each other names and telling each other you're stupid for saying that. The next meme up, it's I gotta make it a little bit smaller actually. It's a woman holding up a sign. Obviously, she's got a little hammer and sickle shirt on, that she's like a communist socialist person. It says corporate greed is what makes everything so expensive. I talked about this earlier. It's kind of what some of these liberal socialists believe that, oh, it's corporate greed. They vilify these big companies, yet they look the other way when these wealthy individuals are promoting communism and socialism types of systems that would make them oligarchs in a socialist type of system. Yet they have been brainwashed into thinking that capitalism is bad because there are people that get wealthy off of capitalism, so they think capitalism is bad as a result. But they don't realize that in a true capitalist society, in a free market system where government is deregulated, and we have a system, in a deregulated system where the natural laws of the free market system are set free, little people can prosper more. But what's happened is government and bureaucratic agencies have gotten into the mix so much with their rules and laws that they have made a platform where the wealthiest can succeed even more and easier in some situations, not all, but that's it in the gist. Either way, the meme at the bottom says, the woman responding to it says, that obviously she's the conservative. It's as if corporate greed makes everything expensive, then why do the prices of goods with the least regulation keep going down, like electronics? It's actually government taxation, regulation, and debt-driven inflation that is making everything expensive, not companies making a profit for providing value. She says it in that bubble. So it's a little cartoon picture, like I was telling you earlier. She says it a lot more eloquently than I just now said it. I kind of rambled on a little bit, but you get the picture. The free markets are not free. Capitalism is so highly regulated that the little guy cannot prosper as fast or as well as some of these big guys. This particular meme is an interesting one. It says, 8 words the liberal media redefined to control you. Again, it's in our face, guys. It's in our face what they're doing to us. It's in our face what they're doing to brainwash us and control us. 8 words the liberal media in this meme. 8 words the liberal media redefined to control you. Democracy means outcomes that they approve of. Misinformation is anything that challenges them. Hate is disagreement rebranded. Equity is unequal treatment, but justified. Remember, equality is everybody has a level playing field. Equity is the same results, but it's justified because everybody's equal afterwards, right? Science debate is forbidden. So if you disagree with, I've always talked about my medical freedom. If you disagree with them, you are you're wrong. You're the weird one. Extremism is non-compliance with approved views. Safety is control wrapped in concern. You see, remember, it's the government's job to protect us, right? So they put warning labels on everything and they put regulation on everything so they can control how if you're okay because they're concerned, right? And number 8 is compassion policies without consequences. So their form of compassion is policies without consequences. And I'm wrapping up here. I'd like to point this out because, of course, this is old news. Everybody was complaining about Trump and his new ballroom, but everybody forgets. Again, these are all the idiotic things I'm pointing out. These are all the just things that you look at and you go, my gosh, our country is so crazy. We're fighting over right and left, liberal, conservative. We're fighting around politics. But look at all the things that are going on that prove how much they are mixing it up, we'll say, and not reporting the facts. So we're the ones fighting amongst each other. Here, it says, hey, liberals, in 2010, Obama spent $370 million on the White House renovations, paid for by the taxpayers. Trump's renovations cost zero to the taxpayers. I'm saving that meme for last. Oh, by the way, I don't really talk about excess sights as much as I like to, but excess sights is a great sight for your gun. And I wish I would have had an excess sight on my gun the night I got carjacked. Second to the last meme is a woman with blue hair in a car with a gas station. And it says, when Biden was president, my car could hold $100 in gas. Now that Trump is president, it only holds $65. Explain that, MAGA. This type of arguments I told you before, the people on the far left will say the craziest things. That's a made up story, of course, but it just gives you an example how crazy some of the things get, which is another reason not to argue with the people on the far left about some of the crazy stuff. The last meme that I want to do tonight is the sheep preaching hate when he says, I'm not going to let the wolf eat me anymore. That, my friends, is an example why you all need to be involved, because everybody says you're preaching hate when you're preaching the truth, when in fact, we're just tired of government eating us, the politicians eating us. We're tired of the narratives. We're tired of the media not reporting facts. We're sick and tired of being tired of all the things that we get inundated with every day, which are only used to beat us up, control us, and keep us down so the government can feed us scraps under the dinner table and tell us they're feeding us and helping us and putting shelter over our heads. All right, my friends, I'm signing out right now. Thank you so much for hanging in. And I would be so much appreciative and grateful if you shared the show with somebody that you think their eyes need to be opened up at all these crazy things going on in our country right now, which proves that we, the people, need to be involved and take control again. Thank you so much. Have a great night.